What is up, Illumineers? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the second episode of the Freedom Gaming Podcast. Again, still taking suggestions on names, so if you have anything you like or you have anything that you maybe think we should be called, hit us up in the comments. Got a pretty good episode for you guys planned today. We are going to be talking about the Lorcana challenges that just happened. We had Las Vegas and we had Birmingham, as we had two of our representatives going to Vegas. So we'll cover some of that and look ahead to set championships and a new segment which we came up with today. So look forward to that. Starting us off today, we do have Michael or Momentum. How are we doing tonight, Michael?
I'm doing great. Just getting back from Vegas. Still kind of recovering. Had to get back to work today, and it was, let's just say it was a long day. But happy to be here. Good to see y'all. I missed y'all up there. So here I am.
Oh yeah, definitely. I hear, especially coming cross country like that too. Like it's definitely tough to come back to work. Next up, we have Mikey, aka Hayes. He was a spectator like I was this week. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Doing good, doing good. Like we mentioned, had a major case of FOMO this weekend. After seeing all those deck lists come through, it's like, man,
Yep,
really wish I could have been out there, to be chilling with everybody else and playing cards. But you know, life comes into play sometimes.
that is true. And then next up, we have Brian or Sploosh Magoo. Brian was also in Vegas. Brian, how are you tonight?
Fantastic, man. Vegas was awesome. Great to see a whole lot of friendly faces and get to, hang out with people that
Yeah.
either you've made friends through
Mhm.
Pixelborn or, on forums. So get to catch up with everybody. It was really cool. Sad you guys weren't able to join us, but there's always the next one.
Oh yeah, definitely. And as usual, I'm Sisu or John. So why don't we just hop right in? So obviously, like we all said, the big events of this past weekend were the two Disney Lorcana challenges, one in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the other in Birmingham, England. Both were kind of contrasting in the way how they were, which we'll definitely go over in a second. But we, like I said, we had two representatives, both Brian and Michael. So we want to hear a little bit of their experience and their tournament reports. So we'll start off with you, Brian. Brian, how was Vegas for you? What deck did you play? How'd you feel with the event?
Going into it the night before, I was very much teetering between like what deck list to play. I was pretty much decided on red blue or sorry ruby sapphire. However, making the final touches and trying to tune it and trying to think of, hey, what is everybody else taking tomorrow, really threw things for a loop. I believe we were up till 2 3 a.m. local time over in Vegas, so it was pretty late making final adjustments. um, Beyond that though, first round got really thrown for a loop. Sat across from a really nice guy, and he inks a sapphire card. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he plays a one drop queen,
Boy.
amber, and so I was like, well, what's going on here? It ended up being like a sapphire amber queen tribal.
Oh man.
Um, he was I was on the play game one and won it, but game two finally stabilized after he was at about 15 or 16 lore,
Hmm.
and he played a card that I had not seen. I had to pick up and read. It was a Blast from the Past. So I had
Oh
cleared
yeah.
I had cleared a 6 or 7 of his queens,
Oh man.
and so stabilized pretty much on the board. And then he just like top decks right off the top. He's like, "Oh, nice," and he slams down the Blast from the Past. I was like, "Whoa, what does that do?" And I think he picked up 6 or 7 queens from his discard pile and just reloaded his hand. And then the very next turn, he played another queen. It's 2/6, and it reads like, look at the top 3 cards.
Mhm.
If they're queens, put them in your hand. All 3 hit immediately. I was like, oh man, I'm not coming back to this one. Uh, so I was still stabilizing, stayed in the game for a little bit more, but then he was able to shift the remaining queen
Mhm.
with another one that like reads for every other queen on your side of the field, like gain an extra lore. So he
Mhm.
ran out a bunch of smaller queens and then shifted and quested for like the 4 or 5 remaining that he needed.
All right.
So super interesting. I ended up going 1-1 there. Thankfully, the rest of my matches were less crazy in terms of they were a little bit more along the lines of what I expected. Played the mirror round 2, I think right into um, amethyst and emerald. Saw kind of everything. Amber steel twice, and then ruby amethyst. But at the end of it, I didn't get there. Got my 30 points and grabbed my Cinderella and called it a day there.
Still something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you didn't
Yeah,
didn't leave empty-handed. 30 points is still nothing to sneeze. I mean, I didn't even hit 30 points in Atlanta, so I mean, not that it mattered in Atlanta because we weren't getting prize tickets anyway. But yeah, but 30 points is not. It's not like it's not that it's like an easy foothill to get to. So definitely good job there. So just let's talk about your list a little bit. So just what were some of the decisions that you said that you were teetering on? I know like obviously like we were up pretty late. I mean, I was up late with you before I went
yeah,
eventually
everybody
went to
was.
sleep. We all
Yeah, yeah. So I was.
Before you get into your list real quick, just because if our listeners are like I was scrambling to see exactly what Blast from the Past does, I pulled it up here so I can read that. The Amber six cost uninkable song. Name a card, return all character cards with that name from your discard to your hand. So he could either sing it or play it for 6 and get all his queens back from his,
Yeah,
from his
yeah.
discard. So that's pretty funny.
Yep.
All right, so go to your list there.
I was debating on the amount of human Sisu and brawls that I wanted. I almost went up to 4 brawls. I ended up doing 3 brawls, 2 human Sisus, and then the big debate was between running Mufasa or not Mufasa, sorry, Scar, the 7-drop Scar
Mm-hmm.
with Rush. So I ended up not doing the Scar and kind of played a more stock list, I want to say, Sailor's list almost,
Okay.
um, with a Vitalisphere as a one of. But I never really got to utilize the Vitalisphere. Um, didn't get to really play it. I wish I had run extra item removal. All I had were the 2 Cuscos.
Mm-hmm.
And in that mirror match, it really came down to I was able to Cusco one of the Lucky Dimes, and I was at 19 lore, and he ended up top decking the other one, and he had enough. He was running the Great Stone Dragon,
Oh, okay.
so he had been gaining the entire time. So he had, I believe, 15 or 16 ink down by that time, and he was able to drop Automatoa and the Lucky Dime and activate it all on the same turn.
Yeah,
So
that's like
yeah, that was
17
a
ink right
huge
there.
swing. Yeah, that was a huge swing, and
Mhm.
he got game 1, and then game 2 was just he was on the play, and I was always one step behind. So
Yep.
unfortunately, didn't get it there. But again, I will say everybody that I got to play was super humble. Everyone was really nice, per usual. I did. I don't know if maybe it was because it was Vegas. I know there were some other incidents throughout the tournament, but I did see a handful of interactions not directly involved with me, but
Mhm.
definitely had some tempers flaring and stuff. So I'm not sure what sparked all of it. But
Mhm.
I hope going forward people kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah, I think just going into that, like mainly just like getting where we don't really have many challenges left, like so people are especially
Yeah,
like at the higher tables, like when you're on the bubble and you're trying to get to like you're like oh man, if I just get me to day 2, because that's sometimes you just want to just once you get into the cut, like once you get to day 2, like anything can happen. It's like the playoffs in football, like who cares at that point? Like you got nothing to lose, just play your game. So you just want to just get there. So like I think just as we get to later in the challenges. Obviously, Seattle being the last one, like that's your last real chance outside of LCQ, which is still a mystery of like to get to that continental tournament.
Yeah.
So especially in like Europe, they're done. Like they don't even have another one. So if anyone wants to try to qualify, they have to come to Seattle. So
which I don't know if you've noticed, a lot of either forums or Discord or even on Facebook. There's a lot of like pros or really good players that are all basically saying, "Hey, I'm coming to Seattle. I already have my ticket."
hmm
So the amount of I think it'll be probably the most competitive DLC
yep.
we'll see. I know a lot of top finishers from the EU scene are all
hmm
planning to fly over.
Yep,
So
and I think it's a 1024. I don't think they go to 20 to 2000 either. So I think it's going to be like
uh,
super weighted. I could be
Yeah,
wrong on that
super
though.
late.
I could be wrong, but if it's only 10:24, that's gonna be real tough.
That's
Um,
gonna be a crazy flight for them too,
yeah.
man.
Oh yeah, that's a long time for us.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Well, thank you for that, Brian. Now Michael, we do want to hear about your trip. As you had a pretty successful trip. Not gonna lie, definitely your best performance at the DLC. So why don't you go talk about your trip?
Sure. It started off a little bit rough, I have to say. I didn't get in until 5 in the morning, our time. I had a couple delays on the flight. I did play on that
Spirit
Friday.
baby,
What's that?
spirit baby.
I don't want to. It actually it wasn't bad. I knew
Hmm.
it was weather related. So and there were some delays with other airlines also. So I don't want to point the finger. I got there. I got a day ahead, so that worked out pretty well. I was surprised how many people were playing Friday. It was more than I'd say 75% of the people that were there to play Saturday were there on Friday.
Wow.
And there was actually some pretty good play testing. I did the 3 round match. I don't want to grind. I don't want to do a whole eight rounds. I did the 3 round match, and I do feel that helped me solidify a couple of things going into Saturday, and working with you guys, working with some of the locals that were there, Nassif, Monty, Freddie, Matt. They were a big help to me, and Alex going in Wochuk a week ago. I really wish I had more play testing with work and things that the schedule just didn't allow.
Hmm.
So I started out 2 weeks ago with the deck list, pretty much a Robin Hood deck list. Actually, Mikey had the idea and threw it my way, and did Sherwood Forest for Ward, and just kept going back and forth, and it just wasn't settling right, wasn't fast enough, wasn't strong enough. Still wanted to stick with the shift line. Ended up going about last week. I was kind of teetering. Am I going to go back to Amber Steel, or am I going to stick with this Emerald Steel? And started teetering with removing Whole New World. Had Whole New World, shift 3, Whole New World. Shift on Robin Hood or shift, and I was playing the Sleuth Robin Hood also, which is another 5 cost that shifts on 3.
Yep.
That gives you lore for every damage. So I was playing with pinging characters and getting damage on them, and then shifting. With Amber in particular, being able to heal with Rapunzel, that just was not working out great. If I'm gonna damage a character, you want it removed. You want to
Yep.
banish that character.
Hmm.
So moved on from that, and about last week, like I said, I was teetering with going back to Amber Steel or sticking with Emerald Steel. Um, Actually, Alex threw out the idea, how about Diablo? Went down the Diablo road, and I had Clarabelle at the time, and started adding some of the other Clarabelles. Went between the 1 cost Clarabelle that removes an item, especially knowing that there was going to be a lot of Ruby Sapphire. I debated between that one and the 3 cost that allows you to draw a card. I definitely, of course, have had the 7 cost because I want that draw and I wanted that shift. I had the 4 morphs. So I had some options to shift onto, and decided to go with the 1 cost, and which was a good move. I was able to remove some quills. I was able to remove some lucky dimes throughout the day. It did come into play, and then to be able to shift on the Clarabelle was very effective. So I went that line, added Beast, removed the Sleuth, Robin Hood, and then I also added 2 Cinderellas at the. That was a midnight call on Friday night,
Hmm.
which worked out pretty well. Um, yeah, it was great. I think uh, taking for granted, you can say one thing about the shift 3 cost Diablo, but taking for granted that one cost Diablo and be able to see your opponent's hand is priceless.
Yep.
Especially in the two game format. You get that look. Oh, I see what you're playing. I can see what your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 moves are. I can see if you have songs that you're going to kill Diablo if I shift right now.
Hmm.
So I can play. No, I can shift Diablo now or wait and play Ursula next turn, and it worked out really well. Flowed well. I have two coves. I didn't see the cove as often as I would have liked, um, and so that transition didn't flow as well as I wanted it to. But there was, I would say, 9 times out of 10, I really didn't need it.
Okay.
So, and then I'm not doing the Prince John line, at least at the time. Um, I kind of was on the fence and not getting enough play testing. I
Mm-hmm.
stuck with what I had and went that route. It was more of a control uh, build than anything else. No issues with Amethyst Emerald. There was not quite a few, but I had 2 rounds with Amethyst Emerald. Amber Steel, the deck was pretty much built to handle Amber Steel.
Yep.
I keep Grab Your Swords in there. A lot of people didn't expect that to be in the deck. They removed it. I feel like between Hyper Aggro and Amber Steel, it was well worth keeping that in. So I went with that decision, which came in handy on many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have I had one Emerald Steel matchup, and I think because I play the beefier deck, I had no
Yep.
issues there.
Yep.
My toughest matchup was Ruby Sapphire, which I went in there trying to build a deck and teching it as much as I can for
Mm-hmm.
that. And I do think that's where the removal has a bit of advantage. If you can take their cards out that they can't play their 1, 2, 3, 4 before they get to that, you've got an advantage
Yep.
there. I
100%.
had Ursula, but that's just not enough to make that happen. So I I I drew on the 3 Ruby Sapphires that I played. I drew on those.
Yeah,
But
The Prince John build would definitely be better
Yeah, oh,
for Ruby
100%. And I
Sapphire.
actually was gonna say, like, if you did happen to play like against like the current Emerald Steel, like the hyper discard, you're positioned amazingly to beat them too, because just playing like the grab your sword, so you can like shift on 3 and sing it real quick, and just get rid of the John, get rid of the Diablo. Like your build is actually would have been primed to beat it. So, um, but yeah,
yeah,
so what made you settle on this build as opposed to just the other options that we saw? Like obviously you have like the hyper aggro between like the Merfolks, the Flynns, going like getting to 3 and just stopping and just turning sideways, and then as opposed to just like the discard. Like were you just this is just from familiarity, just from what you were testing? Is this kind of why you settled on this build?
more familiar. Now I've never really been an Emerald Steel player. The first 2 sets I was Emerald Amethyst,
Mm-hmm.
and then started moving towards Amber Steel. And you guys know I like to play the stuff that nobody else is playing,
Yep.
and that craziness. I will be building a location deck for the I don't know if I'll take it to DLC or not, but I will be building a location deck that I think will be at some point meta. And
Slamming down
so
Jim and
so
Arla's
I
legacies.
say yeah, I say all that just to say, yeah, this is what I was comfortable with. It felt good.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to have more play testing. I don't I think you know that could definitely comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
To finally tweak, I was still on the fence with Merfolk, whether keeping that in or not. And, it's I won't know. I think that extra 2 ink could have come into play in some of the matches.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it would have made a difference in the end. So I haven't yet to really determine that.
Yep.
But yeah, play testing is very important to get comfortable. And then at the end of the day, you just got to play what you're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Making last minute decisions and tweaks are fine, but you don't want to change your whole deck.
Yeah,
And just,
for sure. And then, yeah, but even like looking at your deck, like I mean, like you only had 10 uninkables, so like inkwinging was never a problem. Obviously, you're playing that higher curve with the Cinderellas and the Clarabelles and the Tinkerbells, but you play the Morph too. So just being able to get those out as early as turn 4, turn 5, that does help a lot. But then even if you had to, like if you top deck a Cinderella, just slam it down and just like, all right, what are you gonna do about it?
yeah,
Like that's hard to deal
yeah,
with. Or even something
yeah.
like a no hand Clarabelle playing that against Ruby Sapphire. It's like, okay, cool, I have 4 cards in my hand again. Um, so you said you didn't get a lot of use out of the Cove. Did you not run into? You didn't run into. Oh, you said you played Ruby Sapphire. a couple times. If you did you see you didn't see Ruby Amethyst because like Cove on turn 2 with Diablo, it's like Diablo Cove is probably the best play in the world. It feels so good.
And that's about the only time that I did use it,
Perfect. Yeah.
and
Which is
it
exactly what
just
you want to.
happened, and it worked out really well in that matchup. Just you know, and I was able to keep up with their draw, and they couldn't do anything.
Yep.
And grab their be prepared with Ursula. Pete's fantastic.
Broken
He's
card.
fantastic. You played at the right time, and you kind of put him at a freeze, especially against Amber Steel.
Yep.
It just played out well. So
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say just being this being your third challenge, and obviously being your most successful. You did walk away with a Let It Go, which is fantastic. It's the third one, in our group. So like what do you think was different with this one as opposed to the other two? Like when it came to decklist, was it came for just you more comfortable after playing like obviously like you said last time this being your first trading card game, so like you never really played like at these high level major events. Like there's truly a difference than playing like at a card shop than to playing at these major events. Do you think you just like it was this third time's the charm, you just got comfortable, or do you think that you just like prepared better?
I feel more comfortable. I
Mm-hmm.
know the cards better. There's still some set five cards that I had to pick up and read. I was
Oh,
like,
100%.
wait, what is that? But definitely being more comfortable, just playing your game. The more you play it,
Mm-hmm.
the more comfortable you're going to get. It's like practicing playing a sport. The more practice you get, the better you get at that sport. So for me, it was more a matter of just being more comfortable. Uh, I mean, there's over 2,000 people in that
Yeah, exactly.
challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and to place 111 is great. I'm happy with that. I definitely, but you're right there. I wanted I
Yeah.
wanted I
Yeah.
wanted to play the next
It's
day. I
yep.
really did. I
100%.
really did. So and the support for our local group.
Mm-hmm.
Ronald was like a motivator. Hey, Mike, you got this.
Mm-hmm.
Just play your game. Play your game. You're going to 2-0. You're going to 2-0, and just having that type of support. Ray and Chris and all the group that were there. Again, I wish you guys could have been there, but you guys helped me out tremendously in the morning and the night before, and of course leading up to. I feel like little pressure representing and representing South Florida, representing Freedom Gaming.
Yep.
And I'm the new guy. It's my first trading card game, and I'm loving it. I love the strategy
Mm-hmm.
And the camaraderie and the interactions. Had some great interactions. Sure, it's tension. It's hot.
Mm-hmm.
You're working hard. There was one guy that had everybody that he went against sign
Yeah.
his mat,
That's awesome.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, really nice. There's some great people. And yeah, I'm happy with the result. Would I've liked to have had a second day entry? Yes, of course. But I gotta let it go, and I'm happy with that.
Yep, definitely. Well, again, like congratulations again, because like that's like I said, I don't have one yet, so that's huge congratulations there. Like I said, that's kind of how we did, how our team fared. So it's been like these DLCs have been very successful for us. I think between we have four. We have three top 128s, one top 64. Even though I didn't get anything from my top 128, but I got I got the pride, and I'm gonna
So
take
four
what?
four top 128s then.
Well,
Four top 128s, one top 64.
well, yeah, I guess if you count it like that. Yeah, Brian did technically
Yeah.
get with top 128. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm taking mine to the bank.
All of us in here right now have been top
Yep,
128.
that is true.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Joey.
Joey
Uh,
couldn't make it tonight.
yeah.
uh,
But something I will say is we had two of my locals from my area meet up with us, Chad and Melissa, and
Oh, that's
he's
cool.
I think 15 years of Magic and stuff. And
Oh,
I
wow.
know he said something to Michael like, no, this is your first TCG. No, this is your time for the sweaty competition. Get in there, or whatever, and
Yeah.
get into it and stuff. Because he's like, I'm just here for fun. But if this is your first TCG and you're traveling, like this is it's time to be competitive. Shout out to Chad too for having his wife submit his deck list, and he had 65 cards in there without knowing.
Oh my word.
No!
I think he still ended up at like 37 points or 41 points or something
Oh
like
man,
Got-
that.
right
But
there too.
Oof, that's close,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
But
that was one thing. I had my deck list checked randomly. Talk
Oof.
about nervous.
Yeah,
You know,
that
oh
that
man,
makes you that makes you sweat.
did I
yeah,
put it in right? I got to make, you know,
Mhm.
they take 10, 15 minutes,
Mhm.
sometimes 20 to in the middle of the game, you know,
Oh
like you
yeah.
And
got
they put it
randomly.
all in order.
Yep. So you have to
Yeah,
shuffle it
yeah.
3 times.
yeah.
Dude, in round two, the guys to my 1 o'clock, judge walks over. He's like, "Hey, I need you guys to stop playing right now. Unfortunately, and he said the person's name. Oh, that's me. You did not submit a deck list." And
Oh
it,
my god.
and the guy was like kind of like taken aback,
Oh
and
man.
I think it ended up like resulting in a round loss for him
Yep.
because he thought it was a game loss. They finished playing, then they went to submit the results, and he's like, "Oh, it says like it like you got 2-0. I got
Oh
2-0 or whatever."
no.
Like, dang man. So for anybody out there who hasn't gone to DLC, make sure your card sleeves are opaque,
Unmarked.
right? Or
Opaque.
unmarked.
Unmarked.
Yeah, and then submit your deck list. Don't yell at people. Don't try to cheat.
Don't draw
Uh,
4 cards in a turn.
yeah, that was,
Unless you play Friends Twice from Ursula. Um,
yeah.
anyway, so yeah, so shifting gears, just taking a look at the metagames. So obviously looking at the Vegas metagame, it's pretty much kind of what we thought. Majority was obviously the Ruby Sapphire, Amber Steel, Ruby Amethyst, definitely the 3 main decks that we all thought. And then coming up behind that, we had Amethyst Emerald, Emerald Steel, and then Amber Emerald. But kind of, the tier two with the outside of Emerald Steel, people weren't really sure where that was going to go. And then we did see a lot of Hyper Aggro, the Amber Amethyst, uh, Sapphire Steel, and Amethyst Steel, and then a lot of other decks, which we saw a couple of those other decks pop up in our top 64. So my major takeaway, obviously, here is going to be the resurgence of Emerald Steel. Everyone thought it was dead with Bucky. It is not. Screw all you guys. Got my card banned. But again, I'm super happy to see everyone show off with Amber Steel. Obviously, Michael played it. I was testing it before I realized I couldn't go, and then I kind of just stopped testing anything.
Well, you took it to not for nothing. You were one of the few in Toronto that was playing it.
Yep.
You did phenomenal for the first 4 rounds, and then you kind of,
Yeah, the wheels kind of fell off.
We won't mention that one. But,
Yeah, the wheels kind of fell off. The wheels kind of fell off
Yeah.
after my stream match. Humble brag.
Yeah.
But no, so I was again super happy to see it come back. You saw fun cards like Hypnotize, cards you haven't seen like that since like set 2 when it came out. So that was super cool to see. As well, and then shifting sides to Birmingham, which was Emerald Steel was not really represented at all. Only 5%, about 90 people played it. But that was more kind of what we thought we were going to see everywhere else with Ruby Sapphire, Amber Steel, Ruby Amethyst, followed closely by Amethyst Emerald. Hyper Aggro again was high percentage represented, but still like only like 110 people played it. And then the Amber Emerald, which I think was a deck that a lot of people were scared of, but it definitely wasn't played as much. And we've talked about that in the past too. Just like I know Mike, you've talked about it a lot too. Just like not necessarily that it's a harder deck to play, not necessarily a hard deck, but just harder. And then just the fact just like you have to have matchup knowledge. If you don't have matchup knowledge on that deck, then you're not gonna just ink everything you need at the wrong time.
Yep.
So, Mike, I know we really haven't heard a lot from you tonight. What would you say are your main takeaways, like just comparing the 2 metas from Vegas and then Birmingham?
I think both metas you saw that red blue. I think everybody knew red blue was going to be popular, right? Like I think obviously evident between the 2 charts that we have, with 22% respectively between both tournaments, which is pretty crazy how close those numbers are. And
Yep.
I just think EU or Birmingham, they took a different approach to try to attack the red blue than Vegas did. So Vegas, they green steel with the Prince John package.
Yep.
That's how they chose to attack it, and very effectively. Which obviously is that's how it ended up in the top 64. Another big takeaway for me was in Vegas is seeing the Amber Steel's conversion rate, how bad it was. I do think it's probably the best deck on the play, but I feel like it can't do super unfair stuff on the draw anymore, especially with them not playing Queen anymore, so they're not doing like turn 2 wheel. So like I don't know. I think that that's probably what had to do with its conversion rate, because I bet they lost a lot of games that they didn't go first on, and then obviously the red blue matchup is terrible.
Hmm.
Um, it's cool to see that Blurple was actually represented in Birmingham, and it was just another deck in Vegas. So that was cool to see. Shout outs to I don't have the name here, but the person that got 14th in Vegas and Swiss with Blurple, like that's really incredible too.
Yep.
But
That.
those are my takeaways.
Yep. I also thought it was interesting just seeing the like how even it was with just across the board. Like there's only I think there was about 60 people more in Vegas, but still like the numbers were pretty close. Like you were saying, like
Mm-hmm.
Ruby Sapphire was at 416 in Vegas, it was at 410 in
Mm-hmm.
Birmingham, and then just like they were all the top decks were kind of within like 10 to 20. Oh, actually, with the exception of Ruby Amethyst. Ruby Amethyst was actually pretty underplayed in Birmingham, only at
Yeah.
247 compared to um, the 18% at 346 in Vegas. But again, it's still like the deck is just good, and it's probably the best, just one of the better counters for to Ruby Sapphire if you know how to play it well. But again, like I said, the resurgence of Emerald Steel was super cool to see, and we talked about it a little bit before we got on and recording. But just the fact how everyone, a lot of the steel decks were just cutting swords, so like that left Prince John up pretty free to deal with. He just could go there and just draw cards. But the main
Yep.
the main thing too was just the fact that a lot of the decks, any Sapphire deck was pretty much just playing Tipo. They were playing four Tipos, and not even jumping. So like the Tipo just like ink one card from your hand. So like you're cutting your hand size down, and then just they're like, okay, cool. So you might be at 4 ink, but you're losing two more cards the next turn because you're going to discard something, whether it be hypnotize, whether it
Yep.
be sudden chill, anything like that. And then I just don't think that the Ruby Sapphire players were just able to recover because maybe that was their kill spell for a Diablo. And then so now it's like, okay, here I'm draw two, I'm drawing two, and then drawing on your turn two. So like there's just so it was just interesting to see how they attacked it. And then just hyper aggro just still like was surprisingly good. Like it obviously it was a good meta call just being
Yeah.
into so many Ruby Sapphires. Um, Unfortunately, I don't have the exact Birmingham breakdown, but again, like from I think there's 27 decks I think that I saw when I counted earlier, and like nine of them were Ruby Sapphire, and then six Emerald Amethyst, and then six Ruby Amethyst too. So just seeing like this different breakdown, just how they attacked it was I thought was interesting. And obviously in Birmingham Ruby Sapphire did win. Very
Yep.
super interesting list, which I saw like we were talking about it before. Just like you had the one Fangs crossbow, one Greatstone Dragon, which I know a lot of people kind of played earlier. Probably it was more of like a set four, like early set four. Then they kind of cut it. I always thought it was interesting, but I know a lot of people didn't like it coming in exerted, and then just like your characters they die just so much later, so you don't really get a lot of use out of it until later in the match. But again, his Federico's list
It
was
would
super.
help. It would help versus Green Steel though.
Definitely would. Definitely would now with all the discard too. So it's
Yep.
that might be a new inclusion, cutting the T-pose, going back to maybe jumping, and then or one jump ahead, and then adding another Great Stone Dragon. But just with Federico's list just being super interesting. Two B preps, four big Sisus, um,
Yeah.
and then the one Mufasa. I know a couple of us have talked about that before. So I just thought it was a super interesting list. Um, any takeaways from any of you guys on his list?
Spicy. I
Definitely.
like the Thanks crossbow though. Like I mean, there's a lot of relevant dragons in almost every deck, right? Like it's either Sisu, it could be even a 3-cost Sisu. Because for blue red, just killing that early so that to kill the Flynn,
Mhm.
right? Because you don't want to stop from drawing cards.
Yep.
So to take away a Sisu so they're not getting the Flynn trigger is relevant.
Mhm.
Obviously the big Sisus, Maleficent dragons in the mirror. Um, yeah, I think crossbow still is it's interesting tech.
Yep.
I think Stone Dragon is going to see more play
Yep.
now, especially if Green Steel becomes more popular.
Definitely, yeah, and he went for the hideaway over Cusco. But just even like the first action on Fang's crossbow, like exert 2 ink, chosen character gets -2. So like -2, like that even comes into play a little bit. Between for like a Medusa or even like a Sisu, like if you have like that much ink at that point. Um, and then
See, I think the other reason that they play hideaways over Cusco's is he's playing more items in his list, so it's essentially just another way to ramp. Take target one of his own
mhm.
items and bounce it. It's only 2 ink instead of it being Cusco, which is 6.
Yep.
Like that's not really that good of a play to do with 6 ink. But 2 ink is kind of negligible. You could just, all right, I'm just going to use one of my items, ice block something, rant, kill something with Medusa. Like that's pretty good play to get to your end game faster. So that's probably why he leaned more into the hideaways over the Cuscos.
Yep, definitely. And then switching gears, going to the opposite side, going to Vegas, and seeing just Zan Syed's list. Again, Zan's super cool list. Obviously on the Emerald Steel, and it wasn't Emerald Steel Mirror. They were a little different in what they played. The major cards definitely being the Muses, which I don't know if you haven't watched the finals yet. Like there was that game one, there was some super cool plays just with like the
Yeah.
bouncing, like singing sudden chill, and then like bouncing stuff so that they didn't draw off of
Whole lot
the
of
Diablos
pauses for
for
judge
judge calls.
calls
Yep.
and yeah,
Yeah.
and like people trying to figure out what was going on and how the
Yeah.
bag
Yeah.
worked. But
Yeah.
definitely some cool loops that we got to see.
Oh yeah.
And then just three of the four being Emerald Steels,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, and then
and I think our winner there was Michael saying that Emerald Steel is going to take the whole thing, right?
yep, he
Yep.
definitely did. He called it, and I think he kind of was like tongue in cheek saying he was going to win the tournament, but you know what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But hey,
It wasn't my time.
Hey,
yeah.
but he
Oh,
told the world what he was playing, and he still got his let it go. So y'all can deal with that one. Y'all can hold
Yeah.
that one. But the super cool card, obviously to me, is even though I don't personally play it, is the Ana. Like it's just so good. Just like all the different things it can do. Like obviously you make them discard a card, you banish a damage character, or you buff one of your characters to potentially get a good trade or a better trade. So like it was just I personally enjoyed the list just again being an Emerald Steel player for the majority of the time this game has been out. Um, Anyone have any thoughts? I guess Michael as the other Green Steel player now.
There was somebody in the first round that had Bucky.
Oh no.
Was not
Yeah.
aware of the errata,
Yes,
and
that was the
that
interesting one. Yeah, tried to play it
Yeah.
on two and immediately got called down and a big what do you mean? And
Yeah.
no
yeah.
way.
It probably was
Yeah.
his. I guarantee you, it probably was his first tournament. Guaranteed.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, that does
That
suck.
And then, of course, the drama. I think that's the hot topic right now is this drama with the second place player from
Dallas.
from
From Dallas,
Dallas,
yeah.
and what's going on with that. I don't know if this is the right platform to talk about that right now, but I do think that they've got to do something for these challenges to hold people. There were
Hmm.
the majority of the community, they're there to have fun, and this is a good time. But you've got those bad apples out there, and we got to protect each other, I think.
Yep.
And that's what it comes down to. Because he was being called out,
Mhm.
and eventually got caught. And I think that the community as a whole feels like they need to be harder on this particular situation
Yep.
to set a precedent, and we'll see what happens. I think there's more to come.
Yeah,
Yep.
again, we're not here to
Yep.
say what happened and what didn't happen, but I'm definitely interested to see kind of the response
fallout, yeah.
that PPG and Ravensburger comes with, comes back with, because that is definitely going to set a precedence. Like
Oh yeah.
They need
it's
a
a
good program.
it's a guy not only who
Yep.
got a Mickey, right? He also has an invite. So like then what happens? Is there going to be an extra invite in Seattle? Is there going to be? Does it go to?
Does it go down
like
one more in
17th
Dallas?
player?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see how they rectify everything and how everything shakes out.
Yep.
I hope my biggest thing is like that they don't leave it as is and just like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
we kicked them out and that's that, right? Like, because otherwise, if it's just kind of a slap on the wrist, then other people might be more incentivized to do the same thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But not to just point fingers at one person. I know there were like other people that got booted off the premise for kind of cheating or just,
Shady play.
yeah, shady play and people getting really upset. Again, I don't know what may. I hope it wasn't the vibes in Vegas or whatever, but I definitely think this was the most volatile DLC. I think round 2 as well. Like somebody got really upset, like 2 or 3 chairs to the right, and started like screaming and stuff, and I was kind of like,
Jesus.
whoa, it's not that serious,
Yeah.
uh, Disney Princess card games, but
Yeah. To
but
put.
overall, like Michael just said, like 99.9% of the community are just there to competitive but have fun, and
Mhm.
everybody's super chill. And I don't
Unfortunately,
know.
it's the people from other card games. Like that's what sucks, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel like the people that are doing this are not people where this is their first card game. It's
Yeah.
the
Hundred
people that are
percent.
coming from
Yeah.
other communities that are like, oh, I can get away with this here.
Mhm.
It's terrible, but yeah, we don't need to talk about
Yeah.
them.
To
I don't
put
think
a
I don't think they're
to
the
put
person
kind of a
anymore.
pin in
Like,
this one. All I gotta say is just watch your opponents. If they do something
yeah,
that you think might be kind of wrong, just call judge. That's what they're there for.
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
I will say like some of like if you don't like if you think the judge didn't do a good job, call another judge. You're entitled. They're gonna get another one. Call the head judge.
entitled to an
Like
appeal.
I
Yep,
could I
you're
could
entitled
literally
to an appeal.
If anyone ever has any questions on how to call a judge, super easy. You can shoot me a message. Don't mind at all. I've done it many times in the many years that I've played card games, and when I've caught people cheating, and it's not fun to deal with. It's fun to get a free win, but it's not fun to call someone out. But anyway, just to put a pin on that, just someone's doing something shady, just call a judge. That's what they're
Yep,
there for.
yep.
Last deck to talk about in Vegas was one that Mike wanted to talk about, so I'm going to let him take the floor on this super cool Ruby Steel deck list by Philip Q. So, Mike, floor's yours on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I just wanted to bring it up because I think it's super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I haven't seen anyone playing anything like this, so that's what that kind of piqued my interest. Um, and it's a red steel. I don't know if you're going to throw it up on the
Yep.
screen for them to see, but
Mm-hmm.
red steel, basically locations, and has Flynn and Gustav. Gustav is a 3-cost inkable 6/6 steel that comes into play exerted, but whenever you kill an opponent's character, it can restand or it
Mm-hmm.
stands up. So that and Doc. It has Doc, and then the knight. The what is it? The
Happy.
Seven Dwarfs
Seven
Mine.
Dwarfs Mine.
Seven Dwarfs Mine plays
Yeah,
Happy too.
which I also thought Seven Dwarfs Mine was kind of slept on as a card. Yeah, because Happy kills Diablo.
Diablo. Mm-hmm. Trades with Diablo.
Yeah, so it's a Diablo killer. Um, yeah, I like the deck. I kind of want to play it. I wish I could play it on Pixelborn. Now I have to speed it up and figure it out. You know what it's like.
Yep.
But no, it was just an interesting take. And then the other one, you don't have to pull this one up, but there was a Blurple deck that I think finished around 40, 41 points in Birmingham, and they were playing Merlin's Cottage and Bruno. So they were like a Bruno combo deck. So Merlin's Cottage is a location that lets you both players play with the top card of their deck shown, so you can see both your opponent's and your card is visible to both players. So you play Bruno, and then you know what the card is, so you're just gaining 3 lore every turn, and it's obviously like you go Tipo into Bruno because that's 2 to 4, like that's what you want to do in blue purple, and Bruno's how you capitalize on that. It's interesting. It's
Yep.
an evasive. It's hard to attack a 3/3 evasive.
Yep. That is true.
So those are the two decks that yeah I thought were the spice meter was high that I wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah, and it's also cool like looking to like you see like there's 3 Tiana in the deck too because like I think he's in one of the discords that I was in. I think it might have been the lab discord. He was just talking about his deck list and just saying how like he only wanted to play Doc because he didn't want to draw many cards. That's why there's no wheel, no like storm or anything like that, or whole new world for those of you that don't play Magic. So like that, so he didn't want to draw any cards because you get Tiana down, turn her sideways, and then what are you gonna do? Like she's very difficult to deal with for a lot of decks, especially like the Amber Steel matchup too. Um, so and actually she does really well into Emerald Steel. So look out for that one at your set championships, guys.
Yep.
Um, but anyway, so yeah, speaking of set championships, we have those coming up in 2 weeks. I believe the first weekend's going to be the 5th and the 6th. I think. Am I right with that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this is our new segment, which we thought of today. It is going to be Ink Play Banish, kind of an alliterative or a Lorcana version of FMK. For those of you that know what that stands for, those of you that don't, Google it. So
Carefully Google it.
yeah, carefully, yeah, go, and, yeah, maybe don't Google it on your parents' computer. Maybe Google it on your cell phone. Anyway, so we're gonna do our our Inkplay Banish for our top 3 decks for week 1 of Birmingham. So I want to start with Brian. Bryan, give me your top your 3 decks. Ink
For
yeah,
store champs.
store championships. What are
All
your
right.
3?
I still haven't given up on Ruby Sapphire, but really love Diablo, so I'm either I'll ink.
Oh, hold on, real quick before you finish that. So obviously, so here's the way the meter works is so ink is gonna be something that you like, you want to keep it, but you're not sure if you really love it. Play guaranteed, like you see that card in your hand coming down immediately, like you absolutely love it, and then banish, just get it away from you. You don't want it at all. So that's kind of how our meter is gonna work. All right, continue. So Bryan, so
Deck lists or cards then?
no deck. No, I'm just saying, just like that's
Okay,
like
okay,
yeah.
okay. I would ink Ruby Sapphire
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to be a quitter on the deck, and then play kind of leaning towards my comfort of Amethyst Emerald.
Yep. Okay.
And banish blue yellow queen tribe.
Amber Sapphire is a combination that will never be spoken of in the Freedom Gaming chat ever again. I might just give Bryan a million blasts from the past. Gonna get a package. I was gonna get everyone I can find. I don't even think I own that card.
I was so thrown off.
So wild. I can't wait to put that one up on screen. When I edit this one. All right, Mikey, we'll go to you next. So your ink play vanish.
I'm gonna play Blurple. Like I think like that's unless Green Steel feels that bad. But yeah, Blurple will probably be what I'm at playing. But I think my ink choice might surprise people because I actually think I'm gonna ink Green Steel because I may want to mess around with that because
It's pretty good.
I feel like
It looked like a lot of fun, man. I'm not gonna lie.
So
I just love. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's probably my ink, and then banish is gonna be Ruby Sapphire. I'll never play that deck again.
Michael.
Ruby Sapphire players eat crowns.
Never. Wait, never.
Never again. I don't like the deck. I think it's too basic to play, too boring, and I think it takes no skill to play.
Jesus.
Big words.
Big words there.
I don't know. That's...
Big words.
I mean, I guess it's really easy to go Tamatoa dime win the game. So anyway, we'll leave that hot take cool off a little bit. Michael, let me get your ink play banish.
For all you Ruby Sapphire players, I'd stand out and say I don't agree with Mikey. I don't think that's an easy deck to just pick up and play. So I'll clarify that.
Damage control over here.
I played against, and there's different skill levels, sure. Is it a deck that someone can just pick up and play and do really well with? Yes, but there's definitely a skill level, and you can tell a difference in different players across the board, but even more so, I would have to say with Ruby Sapphire. Because there are steps to progress. There's things that you need to make sure you do. The mulligan's very important with that deck. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty standard.
All right, enough glazing the Ruby Sapphire players. Okay. All right. So what?
I don't want to offend anybody out there.
All right. So ink. Yep.
My ink's going to be Emerald Steel.
Yep.
It did feel good to play, but you guys know me.
You're gonna tinker.
My play is going to end up being a location deck. I haven't clarified whether it's going to be a Amber Ruby or a Ruby Steel yet. So that's going to be my play. And then banish. Oh, I hate to say it because I played it for the first 2 sets, but banish is going to be Amethyst Emerald.
Ooh, okay. Interesting
Yeah,
take.
I just don't think that it's got what it takes right now in this meta.
Yeah, it's tough. It is definitely. I mean,
you're going to see Grab Your Storage is going to be back. You're going to see just things that
I think Vegas and Birmingham this past weekend was Amethyst Emerald's best chance to come out on top. When it almost did, but now with the reintroduction of Emerald Steel gaining traction again, means
I
Blue
don't think
Steel's
that
going to make a
version.
comeback. I think Blue Steel, but people are going to start busting out the Blue Steel again.
Yep.
Emerald Steel and Blue Steel are, I would say almost any Steel deck is not so easy for Amethyst Emerald. So,
I think that that's an old logic. I mean, the guy in Birmingham, Jonathan something, he got third, I think, with his purple green deck.
Mm-hmm.
he got second, right?
Or maybe second.
Second.
I mean,
I think it was
yeah,
second. Yeah.
I think that deck is very, very good. I mean, Clarabelle solves a lot of the problems that green purple had
Okay.
into steel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're still able to rip the songs. You're not playing a lot of two health characters, so swords doesn't do that much. It's not a Merfolk deck anymore.
Okay.
It's
Definitely more
more draw.
mid-rangey. Yeah. More
Yeah,
tempo.
yeah.
Not really mid-range. Like more like tempo-y.
Tempo, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know we're like derailing the conversation. John, you didn't get yours in.
My three. So of course I'm gonna play Emerald Steel. Like I would have played it anyway, and then it shows up just like playing like cards that I love, like with the, like Prince John and the and Hypnotize. Obviously, like I love that card even though I never really played it. Like post set two, and then like I just a couple other like different things. I added Cinderella to my version of it. But just like playing with like the muses, like which I cut and then I added them back in. Like it's super fun in like the 2 days that I've been playing since Vegas happened. My ink. I would probably ink. I would say Ruby Amethyst, honestly. Like, I've always kind of wanted to play it, and, like, it's just good. Deck's just good. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's a consistent good deck. Obviously, there's a couple different builds, but it's just a good deck. It does pretty fair against most of the meta. You're pretty even against most stuff. And then my banish, I think a deck that is kind of just dead now is going to be, unfortunately, because I actually did enjoy playing it, is Amber Emerald. I just don't think that deck has anything to do anymore. Yep, I know exactly.
Good riddance.
Good riddance.
Yeah.
So long
I
and thank.
expected to see a lot more Amber Emerald at Vegas than I did. I
Yeah.
really did. I thought there would have been
I can
much more.
I can say from experience and just like being in the Discord with a lot of people, just like they couldn't solve the Ruby Sapphire matchup as much as they wanted to, and I don't think I well we have our buddy Hector who did. I think he bubbled. He had his win.
He was really close. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he lost to Moyne.
Yeah, he lost. He got 2-0 by Moyen, I think in like round 6 or 7, and then he split. I think with another Ruby Sapphire
he
round
did.
9. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like he was like super super. I know he was upset about that. And then how did Jack do in Vegas?
I don't think he did well.
Yeah, I didn't see his name high up, so I'm gonna. Again, like I don't know like what he ran into. Like if he ran into. I mean, if you see 5.
He actually they like not team killed each other, but
Mhm.
friendly fire. He had to play Brandon in round
Oh my God.
7 or 8, who was on
And
Ruby,
Brandon's on Ruby Sapphire. Yep.
Yeah, so
That'll do it.
that's what happened there. Yeah,
That'll do, pig. So yeah, so that's all we got. So take our opinions worth a grain of salt. I personally enjoyed Ink Play Banish. So I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
I think we'll try. We'll definitely incorporate this. Whether this will be like based on cards or I don't know something else. We'll figure something out. We got a lot to talk
You
about.
do it for spoilers. We'll do it for spoilers.
We will definitely do it for spoilers because we're gonna have stuff to talk about in a couple weeks after said championships.
Yep.
So, yeah, not sure when our next episode. Probably won't be next week. But then after that first weekend of set championships, I'm sure we'll have some stuff to talk about.
It could be next week. We just, the rumors have been going around about what LCQ might be
That's
looking
true.
like.
Yep.
I know Mikey was talking about it yesterday or the day before, but there could be some specific invites for people that have placed or
Mhm.
points. I don't think it's necessarily a point system, but I'm very, very curious. I don't know where these rumors kind of started from, but I
Mhm.
would love some more information. The Seattle tickets have gone out. So now we're kind of waiting. I
Mhm.
don't if it's going to be open to the public. What's the cap going to be at? Because I know everybody's going to want to be interested in that LCQ, right?
Yep,
And
definitely.
then not only that, is set 6 going to be legal for the EU
Continentals.
continentals?
Yep.
I would assume that it's going to
Hmm.
be legal for
Hmm.
NA, because I think the release is the 15th. But big box would be 2 weeks later. So, and then I'm assuming EU it would not be legal because I think it's that first weekend of December.
Yeah.
So kind of curious, and then like, would they kind of change the?
I think they changed. Oh no, it's still November 29th. You're right. November 29th would be big box, so it'd be 2 weeks after that, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
so
Yep.
and I think it's the first week of December, so I'm assuming it won't be legal. But then if NA is legal,
Hmm.
I'm kind of curious how they do.
Changes the game.
Well,
Yeah,
they also kind of have
the
to
NA one would be way more fun to watch because by the time the EU rolls around, it'll be kind of like Toronto, like
dead
the set
format.
is, yeah, dead format
Mhm.
almost. Um, so I'm kind of curious in that regard, but definitely a lot of rumors floating around, and would love to get a little bit more clarification. I'm sure everybody's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of the hype is slowly building, and
Mhm.
people want to know what's to come. Um, I would probably guess that we'll get like official news after Seattle or the week of Seattle. Um,
Mhm.
but I would love to, have them kind of just slowly push some information out and really build that hype because I'm definitely interested in going.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
I don't, for the people that don't have invites, right? Everybody, I think we spoke about it in the last one of like we've only had six
It will be
in the
6. Yeah.
U.S. Four in Europe, and then not all of them were top 16 got invites. So
Mhm.
it's not like that many players, right? So from continentals, how many players move on to worlds? Uh, we'll see.
Yep.
So if we get any news, big news, then we'll definitely try to cover that as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, and it's true. It is. It's in 2 months, a little over 2 months at this point. EU Continentals at least. So I mean, like they have to, and then obviously I'm sure like their information will pretty much mirror to ours. So hopefully we get some news soon. Because again, like I know I mean, all of us want to go out there too. Like I mean, I've been to California, but I've never been to Disneyland. So that'll be a lot of fun. And I know my wife would want to go as well. So anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in with us today. For myself, Mikey, and Brian. Again, we're the Freedom Gaming Squad. Good luck in your set championships. Any random tournaments you guys have going forward. If you see us at any events, obviously, give us a holler. Say hi. We like talking this game. We like just hanging out and talking anyway. And we'll definitely be more than down to chat. Anyway, hope you guys all have a great night. Peace.
See ya. Take
Night.
care.